June 6th, year 2010 marks the 65th anniversary of the landing on D-Day on the shores of France. It's hard for me to imagine how that 65 years have just flown by, and I have such vivid memories of that particular event. What is bothersome is that so many of us put our lives on the line, and many lives were lost on that day. That we put our lives on the line for what we thought were the values that were handed down to us by our founders of this country. And now I see those values being trampled upon. Why our country has to become deteriorated as it's being done is beyond me. We are a proud nation, a very big mixture of people. And the principle of individual enterprise is so important to our nation and should be encouraged, not discouraged, as it is being done. Why should young people be encouraged to strive to acquire wealth when they are being told that that wealth is going to be taken from them? Why should we give up our position in the world as a leader by some of the treaties that have been signed in the last few months? Take the situation with Russia, our relationship with Russia. Now, the Russian population has produced many things of great value for humanity in the arts, literature, music. They were the first to put a man in space. They were the first to put a station in space. What happened since then? They've gone downhill. Many other nations have passed them up in the fields of technology. India, China, for example. Why has that occurred? Because they've had a tremendous brain drain. That's number one. Number two, because of the activities of the United States, they've had to devote a large portion of their budget to trying to counteract what we are doing. And by sitting down and making treaties with them, as we have done in the last few months, of reducing the care and number of nuclear warheads that we have, and that is very expensive to take care of, and to assure Russia we're not going to establish a defensive position, a technological defense position in Europe, releases millions and millions and millions of rubles for them from their defense budget, which they are now going to convert into building a incubator city for high-tech research just outside of Moscow. So we have given that to them, which is fine. We receive nothing in return, absolutely nothing from them in return. And that bothers me. Because of the international situation, will we make an agreement with a country that is opposed to us, we have to receive something in return. Another thing that bothers me is the ever increase of our national debt. We are burdening the great-grandchildren of my great-grandchildren. For what purpose? What are we accomplishing with the dispensing of all the wealth that we have? Then we take a head of a nation that is the only friendly nation that we have, the only friend, ally in the Middle East, and treat them as if they're standing enemies. and we bow to those that are opposed to our way of life. And that bothers me. One of the messages I would like to get across to our administration is, if you're going to make speeches in foreign nations, do not apologize for me. We have done nothing to ask for apologies. If in the course of my activities I have done something wrong, I will stand on my feet as a man and say, I apologize, please forgive me. But I don't want anybody else to do it for me. And that's what's been going on, and I don't like it. Now we are engaged in a combat situation in Afghanistan and Iraq. Our fine young men, all volunteers, not only young men but young women, all volunteers, are imposed with a horrible task. They are asked to fight these wars with one hand tied behind their back. We are not supposed to do any harm to civilians in the line of action. But these civilians are enemy combatants. They're doing the same thing over there that Hezbollah does, Hamas does. They fight behind the curtains of their women and their children. And if any of them get hurt, they scream to the heavens that, look what you have done. I don't understand that. Either we should fight the war where it's supposed to be fought over there, or get out, one or the other. But to ask our fine young people to fight with one hand tied behind their back is something I can't approve of. That just doesn't make sense to me. The dishing out of tremendous sums of money to private enterprise because they are in trouble is something else I don't quite understand. Maybe it's necessary, but I don't think I would approve of it. If businesses get into a financial difficulty, it is their responsibility to get themselves out of it or close up their business, one or the other. But to have the entire treasury bail out all these private industries is something that I cannot understand, because the scenario of what has happened didn't just happen to pop on the scenery in the last 12 or 14 or 15 months, because this has all been building up over a period of years. As a matter of fact, we can trace some of these problems all the way back to the Carter administration when they released restraining orders so that the housing boom could start. Well, that was a good idea to do it at the time, but there had to be some measure of control. Instead of allowing housing to multiply their values 15-20% a year and then issue credit for the purchase of these homes without any check on the backgrounds of those that are buying. This was something that was on the scenario much before this current administration took office. As a matter of fact, Sheila Bair, the head of FDIC, would report to the finance committees of the Senate quarterly, warning them that if this continues, that there will be hundreds and hundreds of bank failures, and no one paid attention.